Good evening, everybody. Ladies and gentlemen, we are at the Olivet City Center. It is May 14th, 2024, and it is time to begin our city council meeting. Please call the roll and turn our monitors on.
Mayor Waldman,
Here.
Chairman Pro Tem Knox,
Here.
Councilmember Clark,
Here.
Councilmember Carl,
Here.
Councilmember Weil.
All right, thank you very much. It's good to see you, Councilmember Clark.
Yes, very good to see you there in person.
Okay, do we have any communications
We do not.
to any of my fellow council members? Any communications? Okay. Next, we have the city manager's report. Ms. Yackley.
All right, good evening, everybody. So this evening, as we typically do for your first board meeting, council meeting of the month, we start with an update about Olive Crossing. So as you are aware, all of the site improvements have been completed. Lot 4 is the apartment complex, and as of May, they are over 61% leased. So they are moving quite along. In March, they were 40% leased. In April, they were almost 59%. And so now they are, for second week of May, 61% leased. Lot 3, this is the planned retail strip center with Paris Baguette and Smoothie King. So this is the lot that the developer, Greg Yowitz, requested an extension for because his permits had been issued. So that extension was given until June of 2024, so the end of June 2024. And then he's working to start construction. Otherwise, his permits will expire and he will have to most likely go back to PCDC because he hasn't started his work relative to the permits and the site plan. And then he's let us know that he's discussing the remaining vacant space with possible tenants. Lots 1 and 2, this is the location for Aldi. So those permits were issued by the city. The consolidation plat has been recorded and they are doing easement clearing. So they're getting the easements that they need for that. And they expect to start construction in July of this year and open in March of 2025. And then lot 5 is the office building and he doesn't have any updates for that lot. As well as lot 6 is the hotel. And he doesn't have any real updates for that other than he's continuing to work with the hotel to see if they will start construction prior to lot 5 being done. As you may recall, they had desired for the office building on lot 5 to be finished before they started on lot 6, but that may not happen. So he's talking to them about changing their plans. Couple of upcoming events. The first is Olivet Night Out. Talking with the staff, we've scheduled that for June 18th. So I also sent you calendar reminders for that. So this is Olivet's Night Out Against Crime. It's this annual event, and we encourage all of the subdivisions and neighborhoods to participate, and they can register their neighborhood party on the city's website. You can click or scan the QR code on the screen, and that will take you directly to the registration form. Otherwise, you can go to the city's website, and Kiana has a blurb about it and the link to the registration form. If you have questions about it, we would suggest that you call Sergeant Dane Lincoln or Officer Sean Miskovich in the police department. The blood drive is May 22nd from 2 to 6 p.m. here at the city center in the community rooms. So this is always a big help for the summer summer activities, and unfortunately people get hurt or in car accidents and they need blood. So there's always a need for that. It's recommended that you schedule an appointment. So you can do that at redcrossblood.org or again, scanning the QR code. And then lastly, we'd like to talk about that there are open commission seats. There are 2 openings on the Parks and Rec Commission. There's 1 opening on the Personnel Board of Appeals, another opening on the Olivet Housing Authority, and then an opening to fill an unexpired term on the Planning and Community Design Commission. So there's more specific information about what each of these commissions do, as well as their meeting nights and how frequently they meet on the city's website. So the deadline to apply is June 12th. And you can also scan the QR code to go to that page to either apply and find out additional information. And just as an aside to the council, because you have talked about this in the past, and I know that you want to do interviews for applicants. So the deadline is June 12th. My plan is to then, at the June 25th meeting, come back to the council and let you know how many applicants for those commissions we have, so you have an idea about that. Your work session, July 2nd, would be interviews for those applicants. My goal would be to make that the only thing that's on that work session evening so that it's not multiple hours. And then depending on how many applicants you have, if you need 2 nights of interviews, the second night would be July 9th. If you don't need 2 nights of interviews, then you could do appointments either July 9th or July 23rd. And I know that you also wanted to do proclamations for Carol Wagner and Donna Turpin for their 20+ years of service on their respective commissions. So we will coordinate with them either for July 9th or July 23rd. The goal is to do them both at the same night and then do a little cookies and punch reception for them. So that's sort of the tentative schedule moving forward. Any questions from the council about those things?
Olivet Night Out, or
Mm-hmm.
do you have a time for that?
I believe it's 6 o'clock, but my understanding is the council meets here at 5 to get in the appropriate public safety vehicles and get the map of the subdivision parties that you're going to, so that you will then be at the subdivision parties at about 5:36.
And that goes till dark.
Yes.
And then, Mike next. Oh, and then I had another, I don't remember my other question. Okay. Easy come, easy go. I'll come
Okay.
back to you if you remember it.
Okay.
Please remember your microphones.
Does anyone, Councilmember Carl, do you have any questions of the city manager?
I do not.
Anybody else?
Okay.
All right.
So my last thing is, you can find more information about all the things going on by signing up for Olivet Weekly. And then lastly, here are your upcoming meetings throughout the city.
I do remember. I do remember my question.
Sure.
Did the letters go out to the people to either to thank them for their time they served or to acknowledge that they're not being re-upped or?
Letters went out to those who are going to be reappointed. That's it so far. We have not sent another letter to those who are not coming
Okay,
back.
thank you.
Thank you very much for that report. It's interesting to see that Officer Sean Miskovic is already jumping into community engagement as a new representative of our police force.
Yes. Oh, I'm
So-
sorry, Mayor. I have one more
Go ahead.
announcement. It came at the very last part of the day.
Go ahead.
Missouri American Water has started their water main replacement on Hillendale. They started that today. They started it without a permit. And so Bruce is on it. And they've put a stop work order until they submit their plans and get their permit. So if the folks on Hillendale have questions about why they started and then they stopped, that would be why.
Sydney, please turn your microphone on.
It is a mess over there. My father lives off of Hillendale. It's nearly impossible to get out because the trucks and the men working in the street are right there and you can barely get past them. So If you're gonna go there, go down Villa in order to get to that neighborhood. That's my advice.
Yeah, I think that's like what happened in Indian Meadows was you had a big truck on the left side, you had a big truck on the right side, you had those big white hoses sucking or doing whatever they were doing, and it was very difficult to get through that. Is that what it's looking like over there?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
There's a big trench that they build as deep as a man. So it's really nasty.
Improvements need to be done and it is tough. The next on the agenda is city council reports that will start done by the esteemed council member Weil.
I have lots of reports, lots of meetings this week, so I'll be reporting next time.
Mayor Pro Tem Knox.
Yes, good evening. I attended the zoning board of adjustments. There was one item on the agenda for 344 Summerdale for a variance for a pool, and that was unanimously approved. That's all I have.
Did you attend something today?
Yes.
You did.
Yes,
You want to report on it?
I was gonna do that next time. But yes,
Oh.
I attended the St. Louis Police Chief's Memorial Prayer Breakfast.
Councilmember Clark, sir, anything to report?
Other than it's truly great to be back home. You know, it's good to see my brothers and sisters in counseling. So that's all I have to say.
Okay.
Good to see you up and about.
Amen to that. Amen. I attended the Planning and Community Design Commission on May 2nd. There was not a lot on the agenda. However, we did bring back up 5 Charbo Lane with the Jaffe household. The redesign was beautiful. And it was approved. And I think the homeowner themselves will be very happy with that redesign and how it looks. But the Planning and Zoning Commission was very pleased with the architect and with the family working to better address how that permanent structure would be looking with their modifications. So that was passed, and then Carlos Trejo, the Planning and Zoning Director, he just went over the latest language changes that may come in within our zoning with regard to the comprehensive plan. So it was a rather light evening, and then we did acknowledge and celebrate Carol Wagner and her final day as a planner for the Planning and Community Design Commission. With that, I will ask that we go ahead and move on to number 5, hearing from citizens. And I see nobody in attendance online, but I see somebody here that I know very well. Were you wanting to come up and speak already? Very well. Okay. Alrighty. We'll move on to the next item, which is the fire department training. Manager Yackley.
So the fire department currently goes to West County EMS and Fire Protection District to their training facility. They've been doing that for the last 3 years, and they would like to renew their 3-year agreement with the West County EMS and Fire Protection District to continue that training. And so as you can see on the screen, there is a slight increase and it steps up every year for the next 3 years. And so we are asking for a motion to authorize the city to enter into that agreement.
I'll be happy to make a motion. Whoa, something went flying. Oh,
Sponge.
my sponge. That was strange. I'd like to make a motion to authorize the city manager to enter into 3-year agreement for training with West County EMS and Fire Protection District.
Guys,
Second.
thank you. Motion by Councilmember Weil, seconded by Councilmember Carl. Are there any questions? Seeing none, please poll the council.
Councilmember Clark,
Yes.
Councilmember Carl,
Yes,
Councilmember Weil,
Yes,
Chairman Pro Tem Knox,
Yes,
Mayor Waldman,
Yes.
the motion is passed.
We'll go on to item number 7, Morrison Park parking lot. According to this, it is Mr. McGregor. Hello.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. I'm glad at least one of you had an opportunity to watch the video about full depth reclamation during the paving process. So before you is a submittal to improve the parking lot at Five Oaks and the parking lots where the old community center was on Grandview. These were both purposely left off of the construction plan for the Five Oaks building and the Parks master plans to complete the priority projects that the residents were requesting and, wanted to leave some relief area, right? We, get the projects completed and then we'll deal with the parking lots. I started quite a while ago, back in October, actually looking for a contractor, trying to find out the best way to make the improvements at Five Oaks. We knew from experience working there, our staff, just getting in and out of that lower lot is, well, peculiar at best. The existing design is a artifact of the past, and it isn't really suitable for modern use, and certainly not for our staff to plow during the winter, to treat, to sweep, to utilize the space. We looked for a contractor that also had an ability to, how do you say, sustainably redo the parking lot. Traditionally, what you do is you just tear everything out, you haul it off in trucks, and then you bring new in. And so we looked through, and I had known of a process, this full depth reclamation, for a while, and found the company Burnin Jones, who's been working with the city for quite a while over the years, actually completed some paving projects within the last 18 months for the city. They're a member of a cooperative purchasing program, like we used Sourcewell. This one is called I think the TIPS program. It's the Trans Inter something or another program through Texas, but it is eligible to all municipalities to utilize. So that got us into the door to work with the company to come up with our design. They came out, and their design team actually flew the whole site with a drone. And they used LiDAR to generate a more accurate topo map of the profile of the site. We knew from working out there and doing maintenance that the sheet flow of the water going down headed in a very linear pattern towards the River Des Peres. There are 2 curb inlets, but it doesn't help if the water isn't directed to the curb inlets. So it all shot down towards the River Des Peres, overflowed the curbs, and really wasn't working in the parking lot. So they came out, they were able to get this, accurate data for the profile and the existing grade of the lot. We worked on some goals about how many spaces we would need. You ask a parks director or anybody, how many parking spaces do you want? Well, as many as you can get. And then you say, well, hold on, we have to do a reality check, to try to balance out our budgets, and how we were going to gain space and what we were going to do on site. So the attached CAD files show the layout of the existing site, what they proposed for new grading and the new parking layout. And during the process, we visited with the Parks Department a little bit and asked, what are your future needs? What would you like to do? What else might come up for the site? And we came up with an idea to reserve an area in between the parking lot and the new parking lot, sort of in that little peninsula. It's linked in the submittals. There you go. To reserve an area it could be for a future basketball court, future pickleball court, future something that would sort of be nested between the 2 parking lots for an outdoor sport. So we're reserving that area right now where the cursor is. And when you come forward, there it is right there in between the 2 parking areas. So on your lower side of the drawing is the entrance drive. Below the area that's shown with the topo is Five Oaks building. And then you'll see the tight gradation marks along the north side of the lot. That's the profile of the River Des Peres all along here. And you'll see there's 2 little bump outs in that dark line of the curb. Those are where the curb inlets are, right there, a little to the left. There you go. And then the next one's down there in that area. So we're consolidating this into one large parking area. We really aren't changing the actual impervious We're actually decreasing it a little bit since we're reserving the area for future sports. And then we're just creating a space that's going to be easier for us to maintain and easier for the public to negotiate in and out, and less traffic intersections. Before I move on to the Grandview site, does anybody have any questions about the parking layout or the process we went through to determine where to go?
When you say a sustainable contracting company, what is it that they do that is so unique?
Sure. So they're using a process, and when you have a little minute, there's a video that's linked in here. One of the challenges we have at Five Oaks, and in fact, many of our sites and a fair amount of our streets, is we don't really know what's underneath the asphalt, okay, unless we've done a project to cut it open. So we see indications, right? There are soft spots where we find puddles. We know areas where there's certain kinds of deformation in the pavement. And basically, those are indications of either poor compaction when it was constructed or poor base materials. So we knew this whole lot was full of these sort of questionable areas. A traditional method of construction, which is unfortunately what I have to do in our streets, is you tear everything up one piece at a time. You take the asphalt and any of the concrete materials, you take those to be recycled at the asphalt plant or the concrete plant. You overdig any dirt that's underneath. You haul that out, and then you start trucking in new materials to build up your base for your parking lots. Full depth reclamation is lack of a better term, a ginormous rototiller. And what it is this like tank-sized machine with wheels as big as me, and it has a rotating drum in the middle, and it grinds up the top 12 inches of the surface. It takes the 2 lifts of asphalt, any of the stone base, and the dirt, and it pulverizes it up into a gravel type size. Once they've completed the pulverizing process, they hook on a tanker truck to this machine, and that material gets hydrated, so to speak, you could do it with water, with lime. And in this case, it's a mix of Portland cement to fortify all these materials for the base of your new asphalt going down. Okay. So instead of all that time of trucking everything in and out, imagine going to Fred Weber Quarry at 270, going out to the quarries in St. Charles to get rock and bring it in. We're doing this all on site. And it is solving those problems that I think, that surface inspections are telling me underneath. We don't have good base. So this way, we're getting all that material reclaimed for use. We're getting a smooth, a pulverized material that we can regrade to the profile designed by the engineers so that we can have proper slope coming down. And we have a fortified base to put our new lifts of asphalt on. So it is that in that sense, it's sustainable. It's saving on the trucking. It's still asphalt, coming from a plant. I will say that most asphalt these days contains RAP, which is an acronym for recycled asphalt product. So right now we're doing a small paving job in Arrowhead Park. All those millings are going back to the plant to be incorporated into new asphalt to go out to somebody else's subdivision.
And it's still just as durable as the old process?
Well, they have they've optimized quite a bit on the RAP. It's important to do your specification for which asphalt you're going to get. It's like picking a paint color at Sherwin-Williams. There's a lot of different mixes. We use a state mix called BP1 for our asphalt, and it has strict guidelines on how much recycled asphalt goes into it, how much virgin material, what the bitumen content is. One of the challenges we're facing between asphalt that was produced 30 years ago and now is that the refiners are taking so much, the refining process is leaving a very limited product in the bottom for bitumen, which is used for asphalt. So the material coming out that they're using for this just isn't as good. If you look up, there's some very interesting graphics that shows like a barrel of oil and what comes out of it, starting with kerosene, jet fuel, diesel fuel, all the products that go into household oils, like for oiling your furniture. And at the very, very bottom is bitumen, which goes to roofing materials or asphalt. So just the quality of the material coming in for the producers to use isn't as good. And they have to be very careful. Some of the earlier experiments with RAP, they overdid it. It tends to be a much drier aggregate coming in and a little bit more, I'd say, dirty. And they had a lot of failures because they didn't have the right blend going into it. And there's a lot more science behind it than that. But I'm not diving too far in.
Understood. Thank you.
Yeah.
So, Mr. McGregor, two things, because I spoke to you about an asphalt
Mhm.
situation in Indian Meadows last year. Is this going to be the same type of asphalt that was used in Indian Meadows?
Yes, we are using as standard. Our first street was Bonham Forest. We did about 4 years ago with this BP1 and fiber. It was a combination pavement street, means that it was concrete underneath with asphalt on top. You usually get lots and lots of reflection cracks showing through. And like many of our older streets, every time a new house is built, they cut it here, they cut it there, it breaks over there, there's a new, so there's a lot of challenge to get that top surface stabilized. So this BP1 with the fiber, which is like literally a fiberglass fiber that goes in there for reinforcement, has worked quite well for us. And I think there's a great reward on the investment in the additional materials.
Okay, one last question. On the item that you have identified here as the graded curb inlet. Now, this black line is going all the way down and across. Are you saying, am I reading this wrong? Are you saying that the curb inlet's going to be all the way around?
So
Or-
the curb inlets are existing. We're not changing
Okay.
those. What we're doing is.
It's
if you
these two
look at-
dots.
Yeah, those are the
All
two
right,
dots. If you
okay.
look at the existing sheet flow, it's very planar. It's like literally just flat and a whole bunch of arrows pointing down so that the water isn't directed towards us. If you go a little bit further, there is another sheet that has all the spot
You
profiles.
don't have to do that.
And it might be a little bit hard to read, but they're building a crown into it to try to get the water to go down and shed towards the inlets
Okay,
in there
okay.
like that.
All right, thanks.
Okay. So the reason we don't use FDR in our streets is because we have manholes every 30 feet. We have water service valves every 30. I mean, it's just the surface complicate, you just can't grind over a manhole. So to use the machine efficiently on roadways, it's really county roads where you're going out and there's just nothing there for, underground structures for them to hit when they're doing the work. So I was really excited for this opportunity because I've always been watching it, and we seldom have had a project big enough to warrant the mobilization to bring this kind of equipment in. They work all over the Midwest doing the work. Okay. So once we had this dialed down, then we moved over to the Grandview site. This was our number one priority. We really wanted to get it as an efficient and responsible design completed for our new Five Oaks Community Center. And then we came back to revisit the old community center site on Grandview. And here we had to look at this and sort of say, where are we going to economize? We need to make an investment. We need to make improvements, but just redoing what we have maybe isn't the smartest solution. So we met with Beverly and we talked about staff and what they expect for future uses, and decided that the area in orange, which was the old bus entrance, really doesn't serve the public anymore. It doesn't give us parking. It doesn't give us, we don't have kids getting dropped off there at the community center anymore. And we really felt like that was not a worthwhile investment to replace the asphalt. So we're going to use that in place until some point in the future where it'll get removed, get planted, with the, grass or landscaping or a new focal point for our Olivet and Bloom or somebody else. And then at that entrance at Grandview, you'll see there's a crosswalk striped on Grandview a little bit to the right. There you go. That crosswalk is really a non-compliant crosswalk. It goes from driveway to driveway. So we need to reconstruct that with a plan to make a mid-block crossing. It needs proper signage for the crosswalk ahead. And it needs proper landings on both sides. So we didn't feel like we had enough to invest and to fix all of that at once. So we said, we're going to come back and we're going to focus on these two upper lots in yellow. And again, we found that these lots had a design, from the past with these red islands and peninsulas sticking out everywhere. They were, designed to sort of capture parking and keep people from driving everywhere, but they really make it difficult to maintain the lots and for traffic coming in and out. Another priority is the entrance at Grandview. I don't know if any of you remember driving through the giant puddle that was there. There was an ad hoc drain that was constructed that filled in and collapsed some years ago. So we're going to replace that and put in a full concrete apron at the entrance with a compliant crosswalk or a sidewalk going across. And we'll add a couple slabs on each side to try to tie the sidewalk in so that in the future, when we do replace those sidewalks, we've got a good connection point for pedestrian access. Sure.
That's not St. Louis County where
No.
we're doing that?
That's not St. Louis County. Grandview is ours.
But right at the beginning, you said, isn't that not unincorporated? Because,
No, unincorporated is only about 75 feet or so east of Warson.
okay.
So when you drive up Grandview, you'll see a little bit past that, like in between Grandview and the Hartkey exit, there's a spot in there where the line ends from St. Louis County. So this is all in Olivet. This is all Olivet right away and roadway. Another feature we decided we need to, that we have to have is we need to designate an ADA parking area and make sure that they have full access to get up to the splash pad. They made a design so that somebody in a wheelchair could get out there and enjoy the water feature and get around. So we've created a bank of parking stalls there highlighted in blue, and we're going to adjust the sidewalk in the dark blue area so that there's a ramp to get up from those parking stalls to the sidewalk that went around the school. It's about a 6 or an 8 inch rise, and we have to have a ramp area to get them up. In the yellow area, we are going to do a full improvement. They're going to come up and use the same FDR so that we can take advantage of the equipment being nearby under mobilization and redo the base of the parking lots. Again, this was done prior to city ownership. We just don't know what was constructed. We would presume that since the school district constructed the building, it would have a good aggregate base, but surprises happen. So this is a great hedge for the long duration. The lower area in green is the maintenance yard. The satellite photo I used was older because it had less vegetation on the trees to see the area. A portion of that lot was paved during construction. Is sort of a triangle area in between the green and the yellow. That's where the maintenance building sits. And one of the other items we talked about, this was a parking lot with parking stalls around the perimeter. There's really no functional use for staff to use those other than for staging materials, which it is full of miscellaneous materials and equipment that Parks Operations uses. So as an economical concession and a practicality concession, we opted to only pave the inner perimeter, this area highlighted in green. That helps us meet our budget where we were targeting for the entire project. And I think it's another responsible choice. We're not doing work just for doing it in an area that won't be driven on. At most, they're going to have pallets and, like I said, equipment, it won't be traveled on. In this area, we are not doing the full-blown stabilization on there. It is not a high traffic area, and we needed to economize. We just didn't have the budget to do everything. They'll still bring the machine in and pulverize. They just won't do the full cement stabilization. That's when they're mixing the pulverized material with the liquid, the lime, and the Portland cement to make a heavier duty base. But I think that's a good blend of a project, to get this in the budget that we have.
So when you're ready to do the final repavement, the area that's not being churned up is gonna be repaved to where it all looks.
Well, so in the green area, no, we're not tearing up any new work that was done under the Five Oaks construction plan.
Okay, but I guess I'm confused. Is the pavement, when it's all done, all gonna look like it's all the same pavement, color and all?
Everything in the yellow upper area will
I'm-
save the connection to the orange which will eventually get removed.
I am focusing down on the green area
Yeah.
only.
No, so around the perimeter, like, that area,
Mhm.
that area where the mouse is right now at the sort of north, a little further up, that area is now gravel for the landscapers to use as their nursery area for plants.
Okay,
Okay, the area where the mouse is now is where the building is and was already paved with the construction project. So that was just completed last year in there, and I just can't justify tearing that up or milling that out. The areas around the perimeter and that area, those will all remain as is, old asphalt. There's just no way for us to move everything right now. And I don't think it's warranted to make the investment in those parking stalls for storage. I just don't see it. We want to have a safe area for our staff coming in and out and our equipment coming in and out. But we have to economize. We're going to use the orange area, just FYI, during construction. That will be our staging area for park staff while the project's going on. They're going to need somewhere to park their trucks and their equipment so they can get in and out. And we'll be utilizing that space during construction. That is about the gist of it. Are there any other questions?
I have a question, Bruce. As far, can we go back to the map?
Black and white one.
The one of Five Oaks?
No,
this one?
that one,
The
yes.
one on Grandview, yeah.
Uh-huh.
So where the building is,
Mhm.
Parks building, all behind there is not open to the public, is that correct?
No, there's a very small area. Well, okay, say behind the building. Is it between the Parks building and the?
Greenery Apartments.
Oh, you mean, is it fenced?
What I'm getting at is behind the fields back here,
Mhm.
we have baseball or
Uh-huh.
soccer. Where do we anticipate the people there who are bringing their children and watching the games parking?
Well, they'll park either at Five Oaks or in the yellow area here.
Okay,
So the yellow area is for, we'll call this Upper Warson Park, for lack of a better term.
okay,
So if somebody was going to the fields that were once behind the old community center
Right.
where you go down the hill, that's what this would be parking for, and it would be supplemented, or it's really a complement to the parking at Five Oaks, right? It's
Okay.
all Warson Park. So we want to have this cleaned up for our new splash pad, future playground area. There's vision items to add bathrooms over here, restrooms for the park area. And I know there's more vision items for the space, so we need to have good parking for it. And it is, unsafe really for the public now. It's about in the same condition as Five Oaks.
okay, so there's gonna be enough parking with the two different parking lots of Five.
Yeah. I mean, we're not creating any more spaces, but we're also, I mean, when we chose to move the maintenance building to the lower lot in green, we knew that space was going to go. That was a field of parking spaces, and we knew that was going to go away. But our prime focus, I think the primary entrance to Warson Park is at Five Oaks. This
Right.
is a supplement for the upper fields.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
I just have a question about I have a question about the order, so, because I see that the Five Oaks staff tends to park, and I've also been to Five Oaks when there's overflow in the lower lot. So when you do them, will I mean, you're not gonna tell this company to stand around for 2 days. So how do you do that? Do you have someone people park up for a week or for a few days and then move down and?
Yeah, I mean, there's no, I mean, this is pulling the Band-Aid off. You know,
Mhm.
we've been in communications with parks about their programming. Our goal is to start third or fourth week of June, weather permitting. And we know it is about a 5-week project
Mhm.
to get everything done, again, weather permitting. So we've been programming this for, like I said, we started talks back in early November, October last year. So we're just going to have to make it happen. There's just no way to do, there's no efficient way to do this half at a time because so much has to be regulated, consolidated, and moved around.
Well, Miriam School or someone in the area, there's parking lots right there on Worcester. Is that an option?
Oh, you mean like at Hillcrest or
Yeah.
something? Yeah, I would think there'd be something to work
know,
out, absolutely.
Or Miriam's closer to Five Oaks,
Sure. I mean, even for staff, if we cleaned up the drive to the old Parks House,
Mhm.
you know, where where they were talking about the community garden, you know, that would be a place for staff with good mobility, you know, could come up and get their cars there. Also an area to stage the park's vehicles in there. It'll be a challenge, but I mean, it just has to be done.
Oh, no, I'm excited. It's
Yeah.
been a long time coming.
It sure has, yeah. Oh, well, we have, and as far as funding allocations, we have 2 funding sources. One of which is just our capital improvement fund, and the other is the allocation in the ARPA funds. So that takes us up to a grand total of $650,000. I've programmed, you know, through lots of negotiations to keep this project in the order of 612,000 with the contingency that keeps us under our $650,000, you know, budget allocation. You know, there's always risk when you dig something up. We've done a lot of research about what's out there, but you know, you always get a surprise. But I feel pretty comfortable having walked around the lot with the contractor and staff a dozen times looking for things that, you know, we've anticipated everything that we can.
All right, is there anything further that anyone wants to ask or anything further you want to share before I ask if anyone would like to make a motion? All right, anyone like to make a motion?
Madam Mayor, I make a motion to authorize the city manager to enter into an agreement with Burn and Jones Construction for Washington Park parking lot reconstruction with a base contract amount not to exceed $612,280 and contingencies not to exceed $30,000.
Second,
Moved and seconded, please poll the council.
Councilmember Clark,
yes.
Councilmember Carl,
Yes.
Councilmember Weil,
Yes.
Chairman Pro Tem Knox.
Yes.
Mayor Waldman,
Yes.
motion is passed.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And I'm sorry for your rough day today with those utility companies, but
God, I mean, I had a meeting 2 weeks ago. I had a meeting with them. Anyway, surprise.
former mayor heard that a lot from you as well. All righty, we will move on to item number 8, which is hearing from citizens part 2. I don't see anybody on the Zoom meeting. And I see the same young lady in the audience. So I will say, does anyone want to speak from hearing from citizens part 2? And seeing none, I will move on to item number 9, review and acceptance of minutes.
I saw no changes.
I did, so
Okay.
I did inform the city clerk that the mayor pro tem that seconded the motion was Mayor Pro Tem Knox. When she went back and looked at her notes, she is updating those minutes and correcting that. So I will accept a motion to accept those meeting minutes as amended.
Well, I'll make a motion that was the council meeting?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I will make a motion that we accept the council meeting minutes from April 24th, 2004 as amended, and the work session minutes from May 7th, 2024, excuse me, as written.
Second.
Moved and seconded to accept the minutes of the city council meeting. We don't need to poll the council, right, Paul?
For minutes, we do.
We do? Okay, please poll the council.
Councilmember Clark,
Yes.
Councilmember Carl,
Yes.
Councilmember Weil,
Yes.
Chairman Pro Tem Knox.
Yes.
Mayor Waldman,
Yes.
the motion is passed.
Thank you very much. All right, we are now at item number 10, which is the city attorney's report. Mr. Martin, sir, good evening. Anything to report, sir?
Mayor, I have no report and no need for a closed session this evening.
That means we skip item number 11 and we go to item number 12, which
I-
is the adjournment.
I'd be happy to make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Fourth.
So motioned, meeting is adjourned.